We have a missing person.
21-year-old Bethany Decker.
Search warrants, and it says suspicion of murder.
They want to search the home where the boyfriend is living with his mother. They want to search the Facebook page, cell phones, computers, joint bank account between Bethany and her husband.
We know that she's 5 months pregnant.
We know that the boyfriend was living with her up until February and that he just moved out.
She hasn't been seen since January 29th.
In bank records, credit cards, her cell phone, there's been no activity since January 29th.
But he moved out after she allegedly disappeared on January 29th.
The boyfriend has to explain exactly his timeline.
The husband takes off to Afghanistan because he's a military guy on duty, so he leaves on February 2nd.
The husband does need to talk to the authorities and explain exactly his timeline.
This is about possible murder.
For 3 weeks, the family did not hear from Bethany, even though her mother, Kimberly Nelson.
We are taking your calls out to Dale in California. Hi, Dale.
There is a God. I got through to Nancy Grace. Oh, my God. Anyway, I'm a nurse anesthetist, and I've had years of obstetrical experience, and I find it just fascinating that only men would think that a woman would leave. No woman is suggesting this. But if you are correct, she would be in her 3rd trimester. I want to know who was the last one to see this girl alive.
Okay, Emily Babé with the Washington Examiner. Run through the timeline with me, Emily.
Sure. Authorities have said that Bethany's husband, Emil Decker, saw her alive in the early morning hours of January 29th. Later that day, her boyfriend, Ronald Roldan, saw her, and he is believed to be the last person to have seen her alive.
You know, I thought, Rita, that somebody saw her that evening, maybe the boyfriend. Was it the afternoon?
Yeah, we're told it was in the afternoon. The other thing that's interesting, too, about the boyfriend is apparently this boyfriend, Nancy, was very controlling. One of the things that authorities seized when they went in for the warrant, they actually seized a couple pictures that were on his cell phone, and she would have to send him emails saying, I'm here, this is where I am tonight. He wanted to know where she was at any minute. And now suddenly he does...
Wait. Rita, put her up, please. Rita, are you telling me that, say, she goes out to Target?
Right.
So she has to take a picture of herself with the big red bullseye behind her?
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
If she goes out to Subway sandwiches, she's got to take a picture with Jared, and so he can see every... Okay, I got it. So, Rita, it was the afternoon the boyfriend says he saw her. You know what's odd to me, Rita Cosby? And then all of a sudden the boyfriend moves out of the apartment. Right. Now, see, if somebody in my family or my loved one goes missing, I wouldn't suddenly just pack up my bags and leave. I find that very unusual.
Yeah, and I do too. And the fact that, say if it's a legitimate reason he moves out, he had no communication with her after that point. The husband had no communication. It does not make sense.
To Dr. Bethany Marshall, psychoanalyst, author of Deal Breakers, joining us from LA. Weigh in, Bethany.
Well, I think this is where a psychological examination of both the boyfriend and the husband would be very useful. Which man has the least curiosity about where Bethany went? Has either man expressed concern over the unborn baby? Who has a financial incentive to have her out of the way? Nancy, the wish to kill somebody never comes out of the blue, even if it appears to be a crime of passion. Usually the perpetrator has what we call persecutory distress. They feel persecuted by the victim's very presence on this planet. So who felt the most persecuted by Bethany? Who said horrible things about her to other people? And has either man participated in the search? Because, you know, with the perpetrator, there's just going to be a big blank space. They're not going to express any fantasies about what's become of her or where she is.
You know, I find it extremely unusual that neither the husband nor the boyfriend report her missing. 3 weeks pass. Neither of them report her missing. You don't find that odd, Bethany?
Well, but it may not be apples to apples in terms of the boyfriend or the husband. They may have not reported her for different reasons. I mean, with the husband, it may have been a very acrimonious relationship, whereas with the boyfriend, he may know that she's no longer around.
They just got back from a Hawaiian vacation. Hello, Dr. Bethany. The husband and Bethany have just gotten back from a Hawaiian vacation. It couldn't have been that acrimonious.
but she really may have wanted to distance herself from the husband, because think about it, the boyfriend was extremely controlling. He probably had much more power and influence over her. I mean, she was texting him her whereabouts, for God's sake. So which man is she going to have the greater deference to? The boyfriend, not the husband, even though she's been with him for a long, long time. The husband may be a very malleable character where she just made up a ton of excuses and he just accepted it and didn't really question why she wasn't in contact with him.
To Nancy, Pennsylvania. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Nancy. How are you?
Good, dear. What's your question?
I have a couple questions about Bethany's mother.
Okay.
You know, first, it doesn't seem like anytime that she's on, that she's that concerned about her daughter. If she didn't hear from her even in a week, even if she contacts the different family members sporadically, you know, I would think the mother would think something was unusual and she didn't visit or come to see her other child. And when she didn't show up as usual for the husband, you know, to go off to Afghanistan, I don't understand why red flags didn't go up all over the place. You know, that just doesn't make sense. And I have one comment, if you would pass along to the gentleman attorneys tonight, tell them sometimes, and I think men in particular, that are so high-minded, they're no earthly good.
Well, you know what? I believe that their ears are working correctly. I'm not absolutely positive of that, but I assume Richard Herman and Peter Odom heard that. You know, Rita Cosby, what about the mother? Now, what they are saying is that every couple of days, they were taking care of the 17-month-old baby while she was in school, that every day or so, she would call to talk to one or other of the family members, and it wasn't for several days that they put together, hey, have you heard from her? No, have you? Have you? And they all realized she had not been in touch with anyone.
Yeah, it is still strange, and I brought that up. The family, I think it's unusual. Yeah. But what we do know, Nancy, is apparently she didn't have a very close relationship with her mother, but obviously close enough that the mother's taking care of this young child. What I find strange is that it's a 17-month-old child, as you point out. Wouldn't you be checking on your baby? Wouldn't someone have figured it out? Why did it take 3 weeks there? There's something a little unusual about that, even if it's a fragmented relationship.
And to Bill Majeski, former NYPD detective, now president of Majeski Associates, Inc., joining us out of New York. Bill, as far as the laptops, computers go, wouldn't they already have the results of that?
Sure, and there's probably a tremendous amount of information on that laptop, as well as the cell phones that were used by both the husband and the boyfriend. You know, the term timeline was mentioned a number of times, and that's absolutely crucial. There have to be parallel timelines of the boyfriend's activities, the husband's activities, and then the intermingling of the wife between those two. I'm sure the police have an awful lot of information, and they're probably very close to solving this case.
To David Lord, crime reporter, AOLnews.com. David, do you think it's possible they've got a GPS stuck on both the boyfriend and the husband's vehicle to see what they'll do? Remember Scott Peterson kept going back and back to look out at the San Francisco Bay where he dumped Lacey's body?
Oh, yeah, I'm certain they probably do, and who knows, that could be something they're basing these searches on that they're doing right now. That's a pretty common thing in cases like this.
We are taking your calls to Beth in Mississippi. Hi, Beth.
Hey, Nancy.
Hi, love. What's your question?
I think it's disgusting to say this woman ran away, especially when there's an innocent baby involved. But my question is, can't they trace the person that posed as Bethany on Facebook by their internet service provider, even without the confiscated computer?
Yes, they absolutely can. Bill Majeski has just told us they would have already gotten those results back. And Mark Class, it's not that difficult to determine an IP address. Every computer has one. And when you get an email, you can tell the IP address from whence it came.
You most certainly can, Nancy. There's no question about this. The big mystery in this case is where is Bethany? And if they don't find her, I'm sorry, if they don't find Bethany, they may not be able to hang this on anybody.
Where is Bethany?
Does anybody know where my daughter is?
She hasn't been seen since January 29th.
She's 5 months pregnant.
21-year-old Emil Decker.
His wife is missing. She's carrying his baby.
When it came time for Emil to fly back to Afghanistan on February 2nd, Bethany was a no-show.